You have thousands of synapses on each neuron, and that means you have, to put it technically, a shitload of synapses in your brain. Okay? Another important point, the brain runs on a mere 20 watts. And if you're not impressed with that, reflect on the fact that IBM's Watson runs on 20,000 watts. So one of the cool things about the human brain is not just all the awesome stuff that we can do that still no computer can do, that I talked about last time, but also how incredibly energetically efficiently we do it with our human brains. So most of this course is going to talk about the cortex. That's all the stuff on the outside of the brain. It's the sheet wrapping around the outside of the brain, that folded outer surface. It's approximately the size and area of a large pizza. But there are lots of other important bits too, and I'm going to just do a whirlwind tour of those other bits now. Okay, so you can think of the brain as composed of 4 major kinds of components. Deep down in the bottom of the brain, you have the brainstem, where the spinal cord comes in here and the rest of the brain is up there, and the brainstem is right down here, and the cerebellum, this little cauliflower-like thing that sits out right back there. In the middle of the brain, you have the limbic system with a whole bunch of subcortical regions, and we'll talk about a few of those in a moment. And you have white matter, all the cables and connections that go from one part of the brain to another part. This is an actual dissected human brain, and all those kind of weird fibrous things are bundles of axons connecting remote parts of the brain to each other. You can see them in gross dissection. Okay? And of course, you have the cortex. Okay, so these are just 4 major things to think about, and before we spend the rest of the course on that, we're going to do just a teeny little bit on the other major bits. Okay, and I'm going fast, so just stop me if any of this isn't clear. All right, so the reason we're doing this in part is that with a dissection of a brain, some of the main things you see are those subcortical structures, right? And so even though the course is going to focus on the cortex, each little different bit of the cortex to the naked eye looks like any other bit of the cortex. It's the subcortical stuff that looks different, right? So that's why we're doing this. Okay, bare basics on the brainstem. You can think of it as a bunch of relays in here, different centers that connect information coming up from the spinal cord and send it through into the cerebellum. So it's in many ways the most primitive part of the brain. That means it's shared with animals that branched off from us very far back in mammalian evolution. But it's also essential to life. Okay, so you can get by with most of your cortex gone. Like, you may not have a lot of fun, you may not really know what's going on, but you will stay alive. But you can't get by without your brainstem, right? It controls all kinds of basic, crucial bodily functions like breathing, consciousness, temperature regulation, et cetera. So it's not interesting cognitively, but it's crucial for life.